Ladies and gentlemen, big terror news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e whānau. Welcome back to another edition of big, slightly hairless, hairless news tonight. Kia ora, Ems. How you, mate?
I'm good. I don't know if I should be offended by that or not.
No, Emily's with us tonight. Just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, how's Christchurch?
Strange weather at the moment, actually. We had some really nice, typical winter days and the nice sunny ones, and then it's just turned to shit. So, storms rolled in.
Is it the storm that's come down the country? Is it sort of the big?
I think so. I'm going to assume it is. Yeah. But yes, no, it's ruined my winter. I think you were saying that the best days in winter are like the still ones with the sun, and then it cools off in the evening. Love it.
They're my favourite Dunedin days. So like middle of winter, I don't know, maybe, the summers were so much warmer when I was a kid. It feels like that the sky is so much bluer on those winter days. It just, when you get no clouds, it just feels that. I'm probably wrong. Maybe there's not such a glare from the sun because it's over on the edge rather than being straight up above, but there's something about it. I love them. They're my favourite days of all of the year. Is like when it's a 2, 3 or 4 degree day that you get up in the morning and it's 0 and it gets up to 7 during the day, but there's not a cloud and there's just blue sky and just sun. I love them. I think they're the best days. So that's
Aucklanders would never know.
No. Yeah, you hear friends and family talking about it's a bit chilly this morning. It was like 5 degrees when we got up. And we're like, dude, that was our high today. Getting up. What are you talking about? So good. Excited. We haven't done one together, you and me, for a while, so I'm looking forward to this. Finally, a sensible person to speak to. Finally.
I don't know. I don't know if I can meet up to Chewy's standards, to be fair.
So Chewy is off on his punk rock road trip. He is going to see a couple of bands, and he's driving up to see friends and family around Christchurch. Actually, he might be in Christchurch tonight, or maybe Timberi tonight, Christchurch tomorrow. And then up to Wellington to get some tattooing done and go see another band. So he's basically having a break, which is lovely. And we'll have a mix of Ems coming to join us, and maybe some other friends and whānau of the show might come and join us for a show. We'll see. We'll just play along. And then I think the rules are then I get to take a week off. Maybe. Probably not. But, maybe. No. And so, welcome. Tonight's a bit of an interesting show because I've got like 6 topics. And that is a recipe for disaster with us because it could be a 3-hour show. But I think maybe some of them will be quite quick. I don't really... As much as people will roll their eyes when I say this, I don't really enjoy giving Kieran Plunket a lot of exposure. But I think when we started this thing off, talked about being a commentator of the commentators, critiquing the critiquers, that platform is probably the biggest independent in the country at the moment. If you look at their numbers and stuff, they're probably 3 times the size of us, 3 times the followers on YouTube, about 3 times the watch hours and 3 times that. So it's about what it is. Mind you, it's cost them between $2 and $3 million to get going. So, I'm okay with that. And Plunket only owns 25% of the company, which is part of the thing we're going to talk about tonight. So I think it is interesting to have a look because it's very, very obvious that something has happened behind the scenes. He's been told to pull his head in, and he's lost at least 1 advertiser based on his comments around Gaza. And this is all through David Farrier's reporting. I think it's worth a look at just as a commentator on the commentating ones. Speaking of Gaza, countries today saying they're going to recognise Gaza as an independent state. And it seems like Israel has the literal definition of the Streisand Effect happening because this is the last thing that it's a little bit like how David Seymour and Winston Peters have brought together Māori. cause Māori to unify. It's like the last thing they would have been aiming to do. So, yeah, that's interesting as well. We'll talk about civil defence. Te Pāti Māori, we got a bit of an exclusive last night, Ems. We had Tanya Waikato on, and she told us about how people were being dropped off the roll, and then that was featured on One News tonight. So we kind of broke that story. So we'll have a look at what they had to say tonight. And also, of course, because you're here, I have to have Kieran McAnulty, because I think that's in your contract, that if we ever do a show together, there has to be at least one slow motion clip with wow wow music in the background. Is that right? I think so. I think that's right.
Did you hear the new hashtag that we created? It's, you know how it's always it's Kieran in the bish. And
the bish.
And the bish, yeah. There's a lot of photos of them doing cricket stuff, and so we've come up with a theory that there might be a bromance of sorts. I can't remember what the official hashtag was, but yes.
What would they be? You know how they put celebrities' names together? Like Jennifer
it was
Lopez,
something.
Jennifer Lopez and Affleck, or Jaffleck, or whatever they called them, or Jaffleck. That doesn't sound right, does it? Kieran McAnulty and the Bishop. Mick Bishop. There you go. Mick Bishop. Mac Bishop.
Mick Bishop. I wonder if someone can in the chat remind me, but yeah. Bromance theory, thank you. That's what it was. Hashtag bromance theory. Yeah.
I say huge thanks. We haven't mentioned this all week. And it's not because we don't love you, whānau. It's because, sometimes I do think that I do get concerned that people think we're just always pumping them for, Patreon and that kind of stuff. But we do want to acknowledge our patrons. Huge thanks to all our patrons who are on board. If you're watching us, if you're new to us, if you're behind the scenes, we are truly independent. As of today, we've never had an advertiser or a sponsor. So the only income that comes into the show is through patrons, through merch, and through YouTube revenue, advertising and stuff, which obviously is just whatever they play, not what we choose. So it's because of the patrons. In fact, I was talking to the patrons the other day, Ems. We had a Saturday meetup, maybe 2 Saturdays ago. And I was just reminded of that saying, if I've seen further, it's because I'm standing on shoulders of giants. I think what I said to the patrons is we genuinely are standing on the patrons' shoulders, because without the patrons, we wouldn't be able to do 3/4 of the stuff we're doing, because everybody's little $5 here and $10 there and, $250 for 3 people, which is amazing here, enables us to do things like, Tanya Waikato, who's about to start a podcast with us. I want to get her a mic and a camera so she can do it, so it can be good. And that's because of the patrons. So it does, and it wasn't like a cheesy trying to blow smoke up anyone's ass. It does genuinely feel that we are standing on the shoulders of the patrons, and they are enabling us to do what they do. And I'm not saying that for you guys who aren't patrons to feel any way other than also grateful to what the patrons do to enable us to not only now do this show, but to do Gary's show, episode out tomorrow, to do Craig's show, episode out tomorrow, and for soon to do Tanya's show. And that could be as early as next week, but we're just still talking around design issues and stuff with her, because we want it to launch looking shit hot. So yeah, we're standing on your shoulders, and your return on investment is not just BHN, but it's BHN, it's locked out, it's the front line, and it's another project with Tanya on the way. So thank you. The other thing we haven't talked about, well, it's the big hairy network, that's what we are. The other thing we haven't talked about as well, I've had a few orders come in this week, and those will be going out probably on Monday, is the merch shop still there, still open, still running. And we showed people this last night, Ems, but your delightful work, this is going to be a t-shirt next week. Just that. Now, here are some advice from you, because this is your world. So what's a complementary color for a t-shirt behind these 4 squares? Ooh. What are you thinking? Like, because black would look good. It would pop off black. But we typically want a couple of colors. What do you reckon? Another color to have as a t-shirt that would complement these 4 squares?
It's sort of a tricky one. I mean, we could do a red for BHN, and then I could change out your background. Could be an option too. Blue, there's no blues on there, so you'd be looking at some contrast color there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you kind of, I think you have to play with it a wee bit.
Oh,
But
I quite like
black's always
blue.
good. Can't
Yeah,
go
the
can't
pop
go
of
wrong with black though.
Oh,
Or yellow.
green. Someone says green, yellow. We don't. Yeah, yellow's hard. Someone said green.
It's not always
as well.
flattering on everyone, that's for sure. Green,
Yeah.
yeah, green could work. Yeah.
And what was the design choice around magenta having the tongue out? Just because magenta's a bit cheeky?
They just wanted their tongue out. And I said, cool, I can make that work.
Okay. So that was a choice from magenta. Right. Lots of fun. Hey, thanks for being with us tonight, guys. It's going to be a fun few days as well. Before we get going, we've already got a few super chats in there. We might just get to these, or else we're going to have a backlog of 20 of them to do. Tiffany says, FBI office opens. New Zealand told to play the game by the Yanks. New Zealand isn't an oligarchy at all. When's the revolt? Asking for a friend. I did see that and I have jotted it down. I don't have that as a story for tonight. I am intrigued as to why this government would say yes to an FBI office under that president. It just feels like under that president, as opposed to, the sane ones, that I feel more distrusting. I mean, I'd be distrusting anyway, but under a Trump administration, it just feels a bit darker. I mean, we're not going to go into this tonight, Ems, but what are your thoughts? Yeah.
I'm lost for words at this point. Yeah. It's just news after news, really.
News after news. JC, so I see that Planeter have set up office in Wellington. Sorry, did I say Planeter? I mean FBI. Kiwi Bird says, introducing Karen's new show, The D Platform. I see what you did there. Kieran with a C, because it's all Kieran, baby. Gold says, Internet New Zealand AGM just finished. All David Farrer's motions failed. Oh, that's interesting. Although Jonathan Ailing was voted onto the board. Oh, that's never a good sign. And another one from Tiffany to wrap up the introduction to the super chat. Electoral Commission is either too embarrassed to say it's a data breach by a third party, or they are complicit. There is no in between. Follow the money. Yeah, and we are going to talk about that. As we said, we had a bit of an exclusive last night, and I'm going to play you the video with Keisha Castle Hughes going, I was kicked off. So it doesn't seem to be anything other than a true and accurate story, as Tanya told us last night.
I'm
okay.
also one of the Pākehā that was not my issues. There is no issue with my election or electoral role. So there you go, another Pākehā to add to it.
Yeah, it was interesting when I asked that question. I was like, is this just Maori? Are they just but I mean, Tanya said she didn't think it was nefarious. She thinks it was, so it's probably a glitch. But if it's a glitch, maybe we'll just do this as the first story. If it's a glitch, then everyone should be given the right, because they had a cutoff date, should be given the right to go back onto it. So why don't we just start there, seeing we're talking about it. Te Pāti Māori are pretty annoyed about this, as you would understand. Here is the headline from One News Tonight.
Te Pāti Māori is taking legal action over claims Māori are being taken off the Māori roll without their consent. The Electoral Commission denies this, saying there have been no technical issues with its online enrolment system.
So that's interesting already, because they've made that's like a definitive nope. This is not happening. There have been no issues, which means if people are not on the roll, it's not because it's a technical issue, which, like we were just heard from Tippin, it's like, well, does that mean that there's something nefarious here?
But the party's calling for an investigation, today filing legal proceedings in the High Court. It says it's received thousands of complaints, including from voters who have been forced to re-enroll.
We need to be guaranteed under the law that there is absolute transparency and there is no interfering. There's no manipulation of the Māori roll.
The Electoral Commission is urging anyone with concerns to double-check their enrolment details are correct, including their address.
I mean, it would be quite an easy thing to check out, wouldn't it? I mean, if it's proven that there's all these people who are off, then what Te Pāti Māori are saying is accurate, and if it turns out that they're not, then Te Pāti Māori have got something wrong somewhere. So this is the video on Marae. I think Marae is going to do something in the weekend But this is Keisha Castle-Hughes telling her story about being bumped off the roll. With dramatic music for effect.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Dun, 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 dun.
This morning I saw online that there was a bit of an issue with the voting, and so I went to check that I was enrolled. I've been enrolled on the Māori roll for many years, and in fact I wasn't enrolled or registered at all, so I had to re-enroll, but wasn't able to enroll on the Māori roll as there's a local elections coming up. This definitely means I won't be able to vote in the by-election coming up on the Māori roll. It's quite frustrating, especially when we've done our due diligence, and it kind of, especially at this point, you know, I've been enrolled for many years and voted many times and staunch advocate of voting, and so it feels like something that we shouldn't have to, you know, continually check in on and return to.
So there you go. I mean, like, that is just one person, but it seems to be echoing what we're being told. She said, I've been enrolled for a long time. I haven't unenrolled. I'm now not enrolled. Now, I guess the only thing would be, Emily, and I assume this is not the case because the electoral roll would have said so, that maybe it's like you do need to re-up. But if that was the case, you would have thought they would have said, oh, but people are aware you need to re-up. They haven't said that, so I'm assuming that's not the case. And if that's not the case and people are off, then something's afoot.
Yeah, I mean, Electoral Commission's always been really fantastic at advertising and making sure that people know what they have to do and getting the dates out there. They've been fantastic at social media. So if that is the case, then I don't know, maybe we need to keep their funding going so they can get their advertising out there. But I doubt it's that. So I don't know. If they're saying it's definitely not a glitch, then I guess someone's got to answer for it, right? Or at least say sorry and have some sort of remedy for it. But I can imagine that the government will just say, oh, well, something happened. You should have checked earlier. You drop kicks for not checking something that you shouldn't have to check. They'll make up some excuse for not remedying it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because that's the first thing. Has something happened? I mean, if it's accurate what Te Pāti Māori said and thousands of people have come to them, then something's happened. And if the Electoral Commission is saying, no, nothing's happened, that does raise questions. I would think it's still more likely to be incompetence or an accident rather than nefarious. But we've been talking about this, I'm sure you guys have as well, the idea about not being able to register to vote on election day is an impedance for some people to vote. And any reason to get in the way of someone's vote, even if it's only in a mind, like if it's an easy thing to solve, like, yep, okay, so we should all be enrolled. We should be fine. But some of us won't be, and they'll miss out. Any kind of impedance to voting is an attack on democracy, in my opinion. And this just feels like still thinking it's a completely, no one person's fault, clerical error or a computer glitch. That is now an impedance to the example of Keisha Castle-Hughes of her being able to vote the way she wants to vote. And that's not okay. So not even going down the path of this is a bit sus, just going, this is happening, let's sort it out. And I mean, like, I would think that any government, mind you, this government is fairly obviously trying to get rid of left voters by doing their no enrolment on election day. What I was going to say is I'm sure this government, I mean, all governments will want to see democracy operating in its fullest extent of the law, but then I'm like, oh, actually, maybe I should hold back on that a little bit because there does seem to be some things coming along. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I had a thought today, which was kind of funny, but also it's one of those things of art mimicking life or comedy. You can't write it. The idea that they might get rid of polling booths at schools, because that's been a long-standing thing of like, school hall, nice place for it. And the getting rid of it under the idea that, children shouldn't be politicized, schools shouldn't be politicized, and kids shouldn't be.
On a Saturday.
And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm just like, I bet you that's going to happen. And like, it's dumb, but I'm just putting it out there as a fun thing on your bingo card of things that might happen. But I fucking hope not. That would be ridiculous.
Well, yeah, following the American model, first of all, they disenfranchise, and then they start to do things, they're making it harder to vote. Like we've all heard stories in America of how in predominantly black communities, which more often than not vote more for the Democrats than the Republicans, all of a sudden there's one place you can vote in a whole area. They make it hard for people to vote. And we said that as soon as this came up, we're like, this is the Republican playbook. The next thing it'll be is removing polling stations. And what you're saying is, it seems that they're starting like maybe doing that. So it's just...
I'm not giving them ideas. No. Don't take my fucking idea.
But when you get coincidence, could be a coincidence, and then you get to like the seventh coincidence, you go, oh, sorry, this is actual and tangibly someone's trying to put their thumb on the scale. That's kind of how it feels.
And I think that's just our entire politics at the moment, is that it's, oh, no, it couldn't be. Oh, no, it's happened again. It's happened again. No, to be fair, this is just the way it is now. Corruption? Probably. Has it been corruption in the past? Yes. It's just thing after thing, and after a while you just go, yep, I'm not surprised. It's definitely intentional.
You got to then start to think, and I guess we've heard from people, and last night was part of the conversation, which is like there is now this drive to make sure people are enrolled. And I sort of agree with that, but I agree with that begrudgingly because we shouldn't have to do that. So part of me doesn't want to do that because then we're playing into their game. But then I also realize if we don't do that and it goes through, then people are going to be disenfranchised. So there's this strange thing at the moment where I don't want to go, all right, let's all rally quickly and get enrolled, even though that's the best thing to do because I don't want to play their game. I don't want to play into their hands. I want to be able to just do what we've always done, which is what the Bill of Rights says, why they say it's one of the reasons they were saying it's going to be a breach is when you change the way the election has been run for 30 years. Just the change is in breach of the Bill of Rights. Doesn't matter that, as Luxon said, in Australia, you got to enroll 26 days before, so we can too. It doesn't matter because that's not how it happens in New Zealand. And for us to change the way we do it is an impedance to democracy because, like we've said, someone on 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks before the election goes, oh, screw this, I don't want to be involved in this election, I hate them all. And then 4 days before the election, they change their mind, they should be able to vote. Because that's how they are. And like the silly example I've been given, I should have got my dog registered by the end of June, but I forgot. Well, I didn't get around to it. So I did it in the middle of July before there was penalties. I should have, but I didn't. But there was no kind of like, well, if you don't, we're going to come and kill your dog. To be basically like, if you don't, we're going to remove you from democracy seems like a pretty serious sort of place to come to. So yeah, it's real concerning, and I'm glad to see there's some scary assassins on it like Tanya because she'll make them cry, and that makes me happy. She makes them cry.
I hope so.
Couple of messages in here. Ryjan says, whenever there's fifth show after Tanya's, you should make a version of that shirt with all 8 hosts styled like the boss select screen from Mega Man.
Yes. That would be pretty cool. I saw something on Blue Sky today that someone had made in our community of the 9-tile square, I think it was, with all of us. And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
I saw it on Magenta. Cool. Did Magenta do it or did Magenta just post it? I noticed it on Magenta.
Reposted it, I believe, because it was community... I think they thanked. But I'm not sure who made it. Whoever made it, it made my morning. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it was very cool. We're all, yeah.
So yeah, look, Tanya's already got her square, and the dog's got one. The dog's not with me. I'm actually using the dog's camera because my other camera stopped working. So sorry if I know there's no dog tonight. This is dog cam. So tonight I'm the bitch. Yeah. Peter says the EC's mascot, Electoral Commission mascot, is an orange guy. Just saying. See what you did there, and Trump, and okay, yeah, it's all adding up now. Don't know what the sum is.
It's also been turned into a sexy orange man, which is just my favourite thing anyone's ever done. That's by Daniel Yeehaw the Boys,
really?
Who does all the comics. Have you not seen it, Pat?
Oh, you're going to go looking while I do some more
Hang
chats.
on, Pat. We got something to show you.
All right. Tiffany says,
this is the best thing about election time.
won't be a shock if the right hired someone to hack. Yeah, I mean, the thing that makes me uncomfortable about that, I mean, I can't say you're wrong, but the thing that makes me uncomfortable about that is that's criminal activity. And I don't know. I know I might be being a bit naive, but going that low. Peter just got a late fee because I care says Dropkick Seymour stopped the vote Project 2026 manifesto. Stop the votes Project 26 manifesto. There we go. And one more before you grab it, Ems. Kaimatara says the Westminster Simpson is beholden to capitalistic logic, the artificial scarcity of democracy. Thus, its logic will seek more artificial scarcity. Very good. Now, you have the what do they call it? The ship, the helm. You have the helm.
I have the stage.
Yeah.
Isn't this the best? Then we got this meme.
Yeah. Let me turn the let me turn that off. There we go.
We got whatever this is.
That last
And then
one
this is
looked
the most recent one that I've seen, which is I saw that on Blue Sky by him. Classic. Just
that's
so
pretty good.
But there are so many that that he's done. I'm not sure if all of these are, but and it's his band and things. So it's just my favorite thing. Every election cycle, we get some updated sexy election man edits.
Sexy election
it's
man
good.
edits. That's very good. How many times did you get woken up overnight by your phone going? Meh, meh, meh?
I didn't. I missed all of those.
Even the one at 6:30 this morning.
I didn't get anything. Apparently, I don't need to be saved from. I don't need to be saved by a tsunami.
You're fine. You're in
I'm one of the
Christchurch.
unlucky ones.
Blimmin' Christchurch would be the key sign for a tsunami because it's just flat from the beach all the way to the hills.
It was one of the big ones. I think it was maybe the Kaikoura one where it was massive in Christchurch as well. And I just remember thinking tsunami, and then I think I messaged someone and I was like in Riccarton, which is a fairly ways into town, and they were like, "Nah, I won't even reach you." And I'm like, "It's pretty flat. I think it could. A big enough tsunami, it could reach us." But
we got that one
not.
at 4:30
Hopefully not.
yesterday afternoon, which always scares the shit out of me when it goes off. I don't know what that is. I guess that's what it's supposed to do that way. And then my phone died while I was doing editing, and I went upstairs at about 12:30 or 1, and I put my phone on my charger just to give it some juice before I went into the bedroom so I could see around there. And it went off again. And I don't know whether that's because it was doing a funny read from having no power and it just did it, or I got the like 11:30 or midnight one as well. And then we both got the 6:30 a.m. one. But it's funny that I think this was the lead story on One News tonight, and 3 News did a story on it as well, because it actually failed. They glitched out. I think some people said they got up to 6 notifications through the night. Could you imagine that? 6 times. So let's have a squiz as to what was going on with the old emergency notifications.
And glitches being blamed here for people getting multiple alerts overnight about the local tsunami threat. The National Emergency Management Agency has apologised, saying people should have only received 2 warnings, and it'll investigate what went wrong.
They haven't also said, because to be fair, the one at 6:30 this morning was a complete waste of time. It basically said, "You're okay, everyone's okay, there's a warning, but everyone's okay," which is sort of what the one said yesterday at 4:30. I was thinking, like, the time you want to receive these things is like, okay, higher ground now, not like there's been a tsunami, but we're all right, emergency over. And that's sort of what it was this morning. It did say people on the water and that kind of thing. So I get it. But it was like, it wasn't even people on the water tsunami coming. It was like strangely strong currents or whatever it was saying. Okay. But anyway, we'll
Meek
keep going.
warning.
Yeah.
Strong currents.
May Heron has more.
While New Zealand's 15,000-kilometre coastline has been under high alert, it's the civil defence phone alerts about the tsunami that have got people talking, some receiving up to a dozen messages through the night.
Yeah, see? Tsunami advisory, strong and unusual currents. and unpredictable surges at the shore are expected following strong currents and surges can injure. So it's like, I'm not saying we don't want to know about this, but the one at 6:30 this morning, like if I'm going to get a 6:30 a.m. one or a 5 a.m. one, I want it to be like, dudes, you need to get out, right? This is serious. Not like, guys, there are some strong currents out there. Be aware. It just didn't quite feel like the necessity for the 6:30 a.m. wake up.
And in the early hours of the morning.
Yeah, 3:30.
How many did you get?
Oh, like 3 or 4, I'm pretty sure, and they were a little bit random.
Well, I think it's a bit of crying wolf, isn't it? Like, you're not going to take these things seriously if there was actually a proper alert.
Some receiving none at all.
Yeah, I could definitely hear other people's phones going off, and I'm like, why is my phone not going off? There's always going to be things that we can work to improve on, and that's right across the whole system.
There's some gremlins in the system, without a doubt, and this because we haven't done one of these for a long time.
The National Emergency Management Agency says it's investigating why the alerts were inconsistent. It says it could be an error on their end, an issue with network providers, or even user settings. It says there should have only been 2 alerts, one yesterday afternoon at 4:30 and this morning at 6:30.
I apologise that people have been woken up through the alert, but I make no apology for the fact that we're taking their responsibility seriously.
Even at half a metre, this huge mass of water can push you down and it can pull you out to sea.
The tsunami was first recorded off North Cape at around 1 a.m. The surge was then picked up around the rest of the country over the next 90 minutes. The biggest wave recorded was 51 centimetres in the Chatham Islands.
I mean, that's not small. You think about that. Like knee height, but knee height with kilometres of power behind it coming in. Not like knee height that goes and then it's done.
Yeah.
It's like knee height that
energy.
goes for it. Yeah, I when it happened in Japan those years ago, they showed it. They showed that, when the ground raises like this, all the water raises with it. And so over kilometres, you've got the weight of that behind it. So 51 centimetres with, 3 kilometres of water behind it is could be completely deadly. So not poo-pooing it.
Around 6 this morning.
The energy, once it gets past New Zealand, it will actually go all the way out to the Americas, to South America, reflect and come back to us.
Civil Defence says a tsunami alert is still in place for much of the country.
Stay away from the coast. Look after your safety. Don't put yourself, your family, or anyone else at risk.
While the warning remains, it's hoped there'll be no more rogue alerts tonight. May Kieran on One News.
Man, I know someone in my house that if they get a rogue one tonight, they're going to lose their fucking mind. It was just a disruptive. Yeah, but also it didn't really work, did it? Because I agree that if you get like 3, 4 or 5 of them and they're not like needed, I know it might be the wrong word for an emergency, but they don't end up being needed, then next time it goes off, you're like, she's fine. You do really want that to be this is serious. And cool for the 431, sweet as. Yeah. Anyway, you didn't get any. Is it a concern that you didn't get any?
I have had them in the past, so this is a first for sure. But I don't know. Maybe it was. I know that Vodafone are doing something weird with their 3G network, so maybe that's it. But I doubt it because my phone is a 4G phone. I keep getting these bloody messages. They're like, "Your phone's going to be disabled," and I'm like, "No, it's not. Leave me alone. Stop calling me." But I doubt that's it. I don't know. I don't think I've changed any settings, so don't know. Guess I'm not worth saving.
We give credit where credit's due. Mark Mitchell did exactly the right thing there. There was a glitch in the system. He took responsibility for it and he apologised. This is
wow.
It doesn't mean much.
But be a minimum.
It's a pretty low bar.
Be a minimum's on the floor these days.
No, but it's a pretty low bar. But so often politicians, whatever their colour, don't seem to want to accept responsibility. Obviously, he's not responsible for the glitches, but he did the right thing. So we got to at least say, well, he did the right thing. I'm sure he went off an hour later and did 10 wrong things, but, even a broken clock is right twice a day, as they say that. I've always wondered about that because we don't have analog clocks really anymore. So actually, if you're just flashing 00s, you're only right once a day. It's right at midnight, 00s. But there you go.
People still use analog clocks. They're just not very common.
I like them. I think they're cool.
I hate them. I can't read
Really?
them. Yeah. I can't read it.
Really?
About it. I've never been able to, like, I've been taught it. I know, I understand it, but people glance at it and they're like, oh yeah, it's this. And it takes me at least a couple of minutes to just stare at it and figure out which, half the time the hands are the same sides.
Do you have to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25? Do you do that? You do?
No, if it's in a weird number, but if it's like, I know my quarters. So that's it. I just go with whatever's rounded up. So I go, it's 1/2 or 1/4 or 1/4 to. That's all I can do. But then I also don't know which hour is the hour and the minute. So I'm like, give me a 24-hour clock.
Noah says that they hate ticking clocks. There's a really nice Tag Hua watch that's it's a smartwatch, but of course then you can put the very cool analog face on it. And it looks like you've got an analog clock, which is kind of cool. I mean, you can do that with all of these things. You've got analog clocks on them, but ticking clocks, yeah. Oh, I think there's something quite nostalgic, which probably makes sense about them. But I remember in my day, in the 1920s, Ems, never taking a watch off. Like you'd have that classic at the end of summer, you'd have the watch strap mark from the sun. This thing comes off my wrist every day and a half to get recharged. And it's like, you know, like my 2 little watch batteries, watch that I had, that was, you'd get back to school and you'd do this and go, how brown did you guys? Oh, you know, you'd compare because they'd never come off, but different these days.
It's probably why I had a Fitbit type thing. And I think it's the reason I had to keep taking it off to charge it and then forget to put it back on because it just hadn't become habit. So I just never used it. So maybe that's why.
Yep, I tend to do that as well. Like I'll put it on the charger, then I realise it's been there a day and a half. And I'm like, oh shit, that'll be no good for the battery. That's what we do. Now we're having debates in the chat about watches because that's what happens here. Even loud as grandfather clocks, tick-tock all night long.
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
That
would drive me
love
nuts.
analog timepieces.
Timepieces.
My wide leather strap. Are we still talking about watches, Peanut? It's a private conversation. I don't think I'll ask any further.
Leave it in the chat.
You never know. Hey, you're a fan of David Farrier, eh?
Oh, I love him. He's great.
You seen his writings this week on the Right Family Foundation and the platform? Have you kept an eye on it?
No, I haven't. It keeps coming through my inbox and I've got it in my 2 reads and I haven't actually.
Did you see our thumbnail? See our thumbnail today?
I did. And it was funny because it was just after I'd reposted the little thing, that graphic that someone had made. And in my repost I said platform could never, in other words, like they'd never have a community like ours. And then I saw that image that you posted and I thought,
pretty good. I mean, like the funniest thing I got back today from that was someone telling me don't use AI. I'm like, well, okay, I didn't. I stole it from someone, but I don't think we can live in a world anymore where we don't use AI. I mean, how do you don't use AI?
It is it's a debate and a half.
I mean, if you Google something now, you get an AI response. It's Google's AI that does all that work now. So how can you not do AI?
Yeah, I suppose it's a lot of people's, the image stuff is its own issue because when it first came out, obviously all of the things stole images from the internet. So they were trained on stolen artwork, which is a big issue with the likes of DALL-E and all the other ones. But it's just the power and the energy that they waste and the environmental impact, but then also the stolen artwork side of it. But I use it all the time in Photoshop, so I'm guilty of using it. I don't go out of my way to use it, but and then sometimes you see stuff that people have made that's kind of like a meme that would never have existed even 2 years ago. That's really, it's funny, but then also you're adding, like the South Park thing, for example, right? Then you're adding misinformation into the universe that, it looks real, but it's not real. It's satire. So
but people would know that about for the South Park example, and people would know that about what we just put up because it was Plunket as a baby. I look.
Yeah, sometimes it's obvious, but it does lead us down a scary road. I don't know.
I think it's technology. Technology is typically neither good nor bad. It's amoral. It's how we use it. And I know comedians that use ChatGPT and they say, write me a list from A to Z with an animal starting with every letter. and they'll go through it and find every animal. And then they'll pick the ones that they think they can use for a joke, and they'll go, write me a list of it. So they're using it almost like a thesaurus or a dictionary, right? So they're using it to do that. And I think when you're talking about what you're doing in Adobe, it's the same sort of thing. You're using it as a tool. And I'm sure, it's the same as every piece of technology that comes out. I don't remember this, but I've read enough of the stories about when, video recording came out in the 80s, VCRs, that television stations and stuff were all like, we're suing you. You don't get to record our stuff off television. But of course that then flowed into, same with Spotify and the precursors to that, Napster and stuff. We're suing you. And I agree about the idea about, like, we did it. We got 2 theme songs made, and one of our stipulation was we're not going to use AI. We're going to have people who make them for us, because we didn't want to take money away from artists. That's very different though, for using it to make art. Like, what people can do with a drum machine, drummers might go, well, that's not okay, because you're taking work away from me. I'm a drummer. But if they're using the drum machine as their tool, then it's using technology. I mean,
yeah.
And I also think it's not a lost cause, the fight against AI, but to be a troglodyte around it and just go, never. You're going to be still, like, you'd still be using VHS videos today with that attitude. You wouldn't move forward. So I think I was a bit of a no just because I'd seen the original sort of backlash against it was the artists who got pissed off of their art being stolen. Now people could generate one of their artworks and they were losing money. That's fair. Yeah, totally.
But then working and being sort of in a position where you've got limited funds, in some of the companies I work for, because they're not for profits, I'm the go-to person for a lot of things, and it's helped me do things that they could never afford to pay someone to do. And then I started to think, actually, there is a lot of good in this, because especially if you work in the arts, a lot of times you sacrifice your body. Unfortunately, my wrists are stuffed, my back is stuffed, and that's something that I struggle to fix, because I'm 8 hours a day. I'm quite often sitting in front of a computer, and it's hard to get up and stretch out your back and all that sort of stuff you're supposed to do. But if, for example, an artist is able to use those tools to limit how much they are doing for example, commercial work or social media, which gets seen, one day, and then it's gone for it's seen once by so many people. I would much rather use my body to do the stuff that I love. Like, maybe I can use my hands for sewing later or illustration work, as opposed to making social media assets for 8 hours a day. If I can, shove it through an AI machine and it's the same product, pretty much the same as what I could have done. So that changed my mind a little bit of, like, trade-offs of, if you want to make money off it and you get paid 8 hours and you have 8 hours to do something, of course I'm going to use AI to do it. I'd much rather save my hands for other things. So
maybe part of it comes down to about like being clear on what you're putting out there. Like, if someone tried to sell or to put out into the universe their artwork, which was an AI knockoff, that's one thing. But if someone was like, this is what we do, a cover from a band, this is not our song, but we're playing it at a gig tonight. This is AI generated, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. I think those trying to sell something that's mimicking and taking off someone else's art piece is always probably going to be problematic, I think, in a legal sense. So anyway, that was a bit of a...
but that was happening before AI, so...
Yeah, sure. And I just have to say, the tangents we do together, you and me, they're far less angry than the ones I do with Chewy, so that's nice.
I can change it up. I can get angry about... I can get really angry about AI if you want, but I just, I figured if you take your night off, Chewy's not here.
Let's actually start it off with a conversation around David Farrier, and the reason we're talking about David Farrier was the conversation he started this week about Sean Plunket. Now, David Farrier was the person who broke this story. and then other media outlets picked up on it. I'm not going to go through it in its entirety, but he says from earlier in the week, the platform was entirely funded by multimillionaire Wayne Wright Jr., whose family empire is worth an estimated $360 million. And until today, it was thought that Wayne Wright was still backing Sean's venture. That's the platform. Today, Webworm can report that the platform has lost Wayne Wright Jr.'s millions. It lost him back in March. Yeah, we'll talk more about that, see if it happens. And so this all happened amongst, and we've talked about this week, that Mr. Plunket decided to put out possibly one of the worst texts or tweets, I should say, that anyone's done recently, certainly the worst he's done in a situation of a whole lot of bad ones. His post has been viewed over 67,000 times. It's popular, and it's an objectively heinous thing to write as infants, children, and adults starve to death. Plunket is an elderly troll, elderly, in both in body and mind. Perhaps this is his idea of a funny joke, but I also wonder if it's somehow even worse that he is denying the starvation is taking place. His latest retweet, and this is rough, I feel horrific for even sharing it, but context is important, floats the theory that incest is causing the sickly children. There is a lot of conversations going on at the moment about there's no starving going on. You know, I have a pretty revolting algorithm in my YouTube because I listen and I watch everything partly so we can do this. So Piers Morgan pops up a lot, and he had an Israeli ambassador on the other day. There is no starvation. It's a lie. It's a blood libel. There is no starvation. And I'm just like, at the same time, Jeremy Bowen from BBC is flying over Gaza, and as he's flying over Gaza, the IDF soldiers in the plane are not allowing them to film out the window. I wonder why. You know, because of what was below. And Jeremy had to report he'd spent 10 minutes looking at areas that he knows quite well that are no longer exist. So yes, I think you're seeing that because the tide is turning of the popular opinion. The tide is turning. David goes on to say, as I mentioned earlier, Sean Plunket launched the platform with Wayne Wright Jr.'s millions. It's worth noting at this point, Wayne Wright Jr. and his family got very, very rich by running New Zealand's biggest childcare company, Kitty Corp. Which you got to say very carefully, because if you got that wrong,
it's a terrible name for. That sounds like a villain's.
I watch a lot of Kitty Corp. You got to be real careful with that. Somehow about something about the idea of Sean Plunket joking about dying Gazan children whilst being backed by millions that have been partly amassed running New Zealand's largest fucking childcare facility felt just a little too on the nose. One New Zealander angered by all of this was Liv Tennant, who shared a screenshot of Plunket's abhorrent post on her Instagram, tagging in the Wright Family Foundation. And this is what they say. They say, any views expressed on the platform, presenters, yada, 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 don't affect. Contact Wayne Wright Jr. And they said the Wright Family Foundation has never given money to them, which is technically true. Wayne Wright came out saying, Sean, I don't agree with Sean, blah, 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 blah. I don't control Sean or anyone else. It's obvious by the number of similar emails I'm receiving on this topic that there is a coordinated response to Sean's comments. So I recommend some of you call his show to discuss your views. So he's basically saying, oh, this is a beat up. It's like, well, there's a huge number of emails coming to you because of something fucking horrific that's just been said by a guy that you're in business with, that your funding has enabled him to grow an audience to then deliver those views to. You can't just wash your hands of that. Goes through and talks about even though they say that they've stopped funding him, Wayne Wright Jr. still owns 75% of the platform. So obviously, as a business owner, he wants it to be successful. So whether officially they've stopped giving millions, and maybe he's employing Plunket on the side doing something else. Maybe he's supporting them from a personal position. That may or may not be happening, which is why I said when we talked about this on Monday, I think it was, I don't celebrate. This is not the end of Plunket or the platform. I mean, there is no way of going through a system to get him suspended or taken off air, because there is no off air in the world of YouTube. Do what you want when you want and let the chips fly where they may. So of course we featured this on Monday, and I said quite clearly, if you don't understand why this is disgusting, just replace the word Gaza with Auschwitz, and you might get the point. So imagine that. I'm really concerned about the mass outbreak of anorexia in Auschwitz. So people still tried to push back against that. So we get to today. And today, David Farrier launches a piece, The Right Family, a masterclass in damage control. Talks about the tweet from earlier in the week again. Plunket then doubled down by sharing a post saying that starvation was not the cause of the shocking images of starving kids. Rather, it was due to incest. Goes on to say that. Goes back over the Right Family Foundation ceased funding the platform back in March. Doesn't mean he's not funding Plunket. Like, could be on a personal level. Stuff basically rehashed his Webworm article, which is true, with zero attribution. Shane Curry at the Herald followed up by digging deeper, reporting that while he had not put any of his own money in since March, Wainwright Jr. now owns 75% of the platform through repeated parties, with Plunket holding 25%, etc., etc. Damage Control 2. People got in touch with the Right Family Foundation, assuming they had ties to the platform. They said they do not. They released a press release, and then David went on. He talks about Chloe Wright, and there she is wearing a platform t-shirt, and then went on to say this. Speaking to Shane Curry at the Herald this week, Wainwright Jr. had this to say about Sean's comments. I'm not aware of any advertisers that have left us over the years as a result of an editorial position that he's taken. With that in mind, I reached out to a bunch of companies who have advertised on the platform with a link to my Webworm story, including Insurmax, whatever they are, Steel Fort Bet, all these ones here. So far, 2 have gotten back to me. Vast billboards have pulled their advertising with the platform, stating, amongst other things, we've requested that all Vast billboards advertising be removed from the platform, and we've been assured this will happen with it by Wednesday. The Steel Fort people went blah, 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 free speech, woke, blah, 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 and kept on going. But the biggest thing that seems to have happened is, I would say without question, Plunket has been pulled into Wainwright Jr.'s office, because he started by saying something more stupid than that. He started by saying something about the trolls. Amazing to see how quickly the trolls of X move on. I was going to respond to it. I don't respond to Sean, but I was going to say, no, you're still here. But then after that, thank you for all your support. I will not be posting on this page for the foreseeable future.
Is that a win?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say. I just noticed it's something that's been just posted, though. There you go. So this has been posted 12 hours ago. It appears that
surely he gets thrown a lot of shit. Is this the thing that broke the straw that broke the camel's back? I think it is.
It might be the straw that broke. It might be the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to his business partner kind of going, not okay. His business partner has done that before. Remember, it was his business partners who said they didn't want swearing on the platform. So free speech. It was his business partners who said we don't want swearing on the platform, and then it was also his business partners who told him to move away from the far right conspiracy theorists. So as much as they promise that this is a platform and it's only me who decides, it's nonsense. He gets direction from the 75% shareholder from time to time, and this might just be another one. Because to be honest, there's not one serious person who can take what Plunket said around the anorexia thing and go, oh yeah, I agree. Or there's not one serious person that's gone, oh yeah, it's just a joke. I mean, there's trolls who have said that, but a lot of people have said, I really enjoy Plunket and I support him and I listen to him, but this is wrong. Like, you're always going to get some people. Yeah, you're always going to get some people who go down. And I mean, like, then people have been targeted into his, all paid for trip to Israel by the Israeli government, and it's just fascinating to see. I don't think. Look, make this clear. This is not like people are saying on Twitter. Good luck, get along, goodbye. Don't let the door hit you in the butt. He's not going anywhere. This is the only thing that'll move him away is finances. The only thing that'll stop the platform is if it's not able to be financially viable. And I said when the platform started, and to be fair, they've outlasted what I thought they would, that when the $2 million runs out, it'll end up going tits up, and Plunket will end up doing some independent something, like old, what's his name? The things that turning the frogs gay. That guy, Alex Jones. He'll become New Zealand's Alex Jones. And that's still a possibility, I think. But the platform's lasted longer than I thought it would. So I was wrong about that, but it still may go down that path. Anyway, that was me a lot of talking, Emily. And you've had a chance to get the gist of everything so far this week. What are your thoughts, if any?
I am surprised that the people who have the money behind that thing, show, broadcast, I don't know what you call it, have pulled the plug now and not. One, swearing was like no, we can't have swearing, but all the other stuff is fine, like anti-vax bullshit. Like it seems really strange that this, I don't know if it's just like a piling on of stuff, but it seems very strange that it's sort of like now, or like even in March, like it was well before then that they had controversial, if not really inappropriate stuff on their platform. But you know, it was only in March that he pulled the funding. I don't know, just seems
and look,
very
it might also just be, you know, this is, you know, if we're talking in startup terms for a media company, that was seed money. You know, you get a couple of $1 million and that runs you for a few years, and at some point it stops, and you got to, like, it could just be as simple as that. I don't think anyone, I certainly haven't. I don't think David Farrer actually said this either. I don't think anyone's suggesting that they pulled the money because of some kind of, you know, we're not happy. It was probably the end of the seed money. And we know, me and Chewy had a meeting at MediaWorks, and the guys at MediaWorks told us all the background dealings as to what kind of burn rate they had, and it was, oh gosh, it might have been $50,000 or $60,000 a month they were burning through. I can't remember exactly what the numbers were, but they were. Well, they've got staff, and you know.
Yeah, I suppose. But like, I mean, we run it on a pretty small budget. But I mean, Pat does work very, very long hours for us. Thank you. But do they really need to be? I suppose Plunket doesn't do shit. He just sort of gets on there and talks shit, and then everyone else organises around him. But you could easily cut that show significantly.
Well, they've been around for a couple of months shorter than us, and we've been around, I think, since 2021. When was it the Occupying Wellington? That was in 2021, At the end of was it started 2022? Might have been the start of 2022. The protest in Wellington. Yeah. So we've been 3 years. So they've been 3 years, and $2 million over 3 years. You know, $700K a year. What is that? 60 grand a month. You will see that runway works about well. 60 grand a month. You know, what is a floor of offices in the centre of Wellington going to cost you to start with? We keep our availability to keep going here by doing things like, you know, you're in your
our basements.
Room. Yeah,
I'm in my gaming room.
If you read Twitter, I'm in my mum's basement. I don't know how they know that. She's been dead for quite a long time.
You are in a basement, but I don't know if it's your mum's basement. I think it's your basement.
It's my basement. And so we run a lean ship, and that's why we survive here. But the thing about that is, you know, when I say we, I says there's no external group that has any ownership of what we do. We are, I was going to say we're profitable. If you added up all of my hours, I don't know if that would be true, but we're able to run a lean ship because of how we've made choices to do it. And also because what you guys do on Friday night is that there's also people giving up time here and there. We like, just so people know, especially if you're thinking about Patreon and stuff, we pay for stuff. You know, it's not like everyone here gets nothing. It's like, you know, we pay for this and we pay for that, and like when we go our way and stuff, patrons pay for all of that. So we're not quite a charity, but we also wouldn't be probably deemed a fully functioning business proposal yet. I mean, if we went to an investor and if they were looking for a return, that might take them quite a while. But you know, we're somewhere in between. But it means we own everything. It's ours. There's no third party giving us a call to say don't use fucking swear words. Oh, by the way, can't say fuck anymore, or whatever. Anyway, it's really interesting because he has taken a different tone. Someone's obviously got to him. He has lost at least one advertiser. And I think at a startup stage, which is not really a startup, but at a startup stage, losing an advertiser would suck, because that's sort of what you need to keep going. I don't know.
I also think that they're given the background that I assume Plunket's been around on the air for a long time. He's not a fresh face for sure. If you get so used to, this is the only way to do it, is in a studio with offices, with 3 or 4 people, with a sound guy in the background, with high-tech equipment, then it kind of feels like that's what you have to do. And so they, need investors to set up all that upfront cost. But, I've done streaming and stuff on pennies. And a lot of us who kind of grew up in the boom of YouTube or the beginnings of it and Twitch and all of that stuff have just learnt how to set up a stream set up on a budget. Like, this is from Mighty Ape, it cost me $200. My mic's only $100. My webcam's a couple $100. This is just my computer. Like, it's not hard to do it and make it sound and look good, but I suppose if you're used to the whole studio thing, you think it's the only way to do it, right? Oh, I
mean, that's the thing, to go behind the curtain a bit of media. Me and Chewy are up in Auckland last year, it probably was, and we went and talked to the guys at Rover and MediaWorks, and you go into the front door of MediaWorks and their lobby would cost $250,000, just to fit out that lobby that they've got. I did an interview on RNZ when they came to Dunedin, 6 weeks ago or so. I turned up to RNZ, go see Jesse, and he's got 5 people with him. They would all come down from Auckland. There is technicians. There's 5 people there to do this live broadcast. I mean, I've worked for radio for a long time. You get an OB machine and you plug it into a thing and you do it yourself. RNZ has 5 people there. So yeah, it's fascinating.
And they still get the audio fucked up. Jack Tame recently, someone is not plugging his mic in, and it is driving me nuts. It's the simplest thing. Just plug in his mic or mic him up. They keep using like the Tama Pōtaka one, because they were obviously not using a mic. They were just using Tamas. You could just hear him going.
Yeah, I know the breathing.
Because they had to turn up the volume so high in order to hear him. And I'm just like, TVNZ, you have money. What have you is this a new guy? And the Herald as well recently. They keep fucking it up and playing like videos over top. Shane Jones is on or something. And they just played a video over top. And I'm like, what are you doing? Are these like graduates? Or like just, I don't know. It seems, the amount of fuck ups I'm seeing recently is just like, you guys are cutting the budget or you just don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, people hearing this right now, this is a broadcast mic. I did buy some stuff and I put some money into some things. But still, compared to, what you get in a radio studio, this is basically play school stuff, But
the quality's just as good.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. Well, apart from the times your camera craps out and all, but that's, small stuff.
Oh, you mean the quality of the content, eh? The quality of the content, that's what
it's YouTube, who gives a fuck?
All right. Hey, let's jump in and have a look at this. This is a super short story, but it's quite an important one as well. What's happening in the Middle East and what's happening to this idea about the Streisand Effect. The last thing that Israel would want at the moment is for Gaza to have kind of nationhood, statehood, to be officially recognized as an independent state. And because of what's going on, more and more and more and more countries are about to literally do that.
Canada is the latest nation to say it'll recognise a Palestinian state at the UN in September, following the UK and France. The pledge rests on the Palestinian Authority, which governs the occupied West Bank, vowing to demilitarise and hold elections next year without Hamas involved. It came as a group of Arab nations for the first time called for Hamas to disarm and surrender control of occupied Gaza. Those are both key demands by Israel, which condemned Canada's move. Our Prime Minister, meanwhile, has held a call with his UK counterpart to discuss how to get more aid into Gaza and how to reach a two-state solution.
So little short story. That's
How long
all there
did that
was
take him to craft that fucking tweet?
or 7 social media. Talking about lots of people. Really interesting. Really interesting. And now that there are some significant countries, France, Canada, etc., kind of going, these guys need statehood or nationhood. You know, you got to start looking at our guys going, well, come on. You keep talking about this plucky little country that was ahead of the curve when it comes to things like nuclear powered ships and women getting the vote, and there's people beating you. There's people getting to the right side of history before you. Might be time to think about it, Mr. Luxon. You know, just happened to have Kash Patel's security detail in the Beehive yesterday. I wonder if there was any quick talks about that with Mr. Peters. But yeah, look, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, and it seems that the Palestinian government from the West Bank will take over in somewhat of Gaza. What we're hearing is Hamas is more than happy to step aside. We're not idiots. We'll wait and see, but that's what we're hearing. But I was thinking about it today, Ems. They're saying that, you know, up to 3/4 of Gaza has been flattened. Dunedin's 125,000 people. There's about 50,000 homes in Dunedin. Imagine flattening 35,000 of them and there still being 125,000 people in Dunedin. I just thought, how is this going to go anywhere? Like, whatever city you're in, I mean, like, obviously people have died, right? So let's work it out properly. Let's just call it 100,000 people. They say 60,000, 100,000 out of 2 million. That's only 5%, yeah, I think. So let's mirror that back. So rather than 125,000 Dunedinites, you've now got 15,000 houses to fit 115,000 Dunedinites, where it took 50,000 houses to home 125,000. And I had this little epiphany. So I'm like, I cannot see how this works, purely because of those numbers. And, you know, when we take these aerial tours, I'll get one up in a sec, and everything's flattened. If a building takes 2, 3, 4 years to build, but they have to build, like, they're what, 8 times the size, so 400,000, so they have to build 300,000 buildings, and one takes them
barely build 2,000.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when you start to think about the numbers, I don't know how, I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know how. Ems?
Someone was just mentioning social media. I saw recently on YouTube, I had quite a few Palestinians who have made YouTube content starting to pop up on my feed, which is great because I have had hardly any stuff until now, actually, which just proves the point that the narrative is finally changing and people are no longer suppressing it, but actually acknowledging it. And now we're actually saying, yeah, it's a genocide. It took us, 2 years to do that, and it's not that hard to see, but it's pretty obvious now. It's just a shame that all of this shit had to happen before we got to that point. But
I mean, speaking of AI, that looks like AI. That looks like CGI for a movie. You know, like some kind of atomic bomb movie. This is what they're going to use. Like I said, look, that's a 6-story
you can get
building.
your money from Hollywood if they want. You could film a movie here. We got fuck all left.
But you know what I mean? If this building here took a couple of years to build, I think that would be quick. But if it took a couple of years to build, there's 1,000 of them in this area that no longer exist. Like I genuinely don't know what happens now. Like, I heard that same fucking revolting person on Piers Morgan, the ambassador, talking about, well, you know, the Gazan people should leave. And Piers is like, you mean forced us? But no, they should leave of their own accord. If they want to leave, they should leave. And then they can come back when it's all built. But it's like, even if you believe that, when is that going to... When's it going to be
The Israelis are going to build it. That's under their control. Yeah, they're going to rebuild it and say, yeah, Gazans, come back, but you have to come back and declare that you're Israeli now, and under our laws and our religions and God knows what else. So.
And there's some scale if you want, because there's people standing down here. You just here walking. There's some scale if you want.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I don't believe what I'm seeing.
What I was saying with the social media is a few people that popped up. One young woman, I think was university age, sort of showing her daily life, and on the balcony she was using like a very old gas cooker of sorts and making, which basically just bread, while she was looking at people down the street who were running. She was saying, a few houses down got bombed recently, and it was like a busy marketplace street. Very strange to see that. But then there was also another one that I saw where it was what Gaza looked like before and what it looks like now, and it was beautiful beaches. It was fully built up. Like this is just a city, a country, well, cities and country that just look normal, and then we just saw what it looks like now. And this isn't an isolated case at all. Like this has happened throughout the Middle East, thanks to America, and they keep having to rebuild. And they are not they're not just desert plains. They got turned into desert plains because they got bombed the shit out of because people want their oil. This sort of dynamic between Gaza and Israel. It's I think the crazy thing for me is that as I get older, and I don't know if it's probably like you were saying a few days ago about, there's always been a war that young people have been at the front of protesting it.
Yeah.
But it's crazy growing up and seeing more and more of it in history keep repeating itself, and it kind of just becomes normal, but also it's very strange. Very strange. You see the Twin Towers, and then you see the war in Iraq, but then you learned that there was ones before that, and then we're seeing this again in the Middle East, just Syria. I don't know anymore. I'm glad that people are recognizing that it's a fucking genocide at least, but God, it had to get to this point before we actually did anything about it. It stuns me.
So I've got some photos to show you. Give me a sec. Is there any chats you want to get to? A couple of those super chats while I look with that.
Yeah, go on. What do we got? Kiwi Burb. Hello, Kiwi Burb. What mic do you have? Kiwi Burb's looking for an upgrade. I assume yours, not mine. You haven't got a Shure, have you?
No, it's not a Shure. It's an Electro something or other, 8800 or something like that. It's about $1,000. What it was when I got it. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Fancy. I have a Razer Siren in pink. It's a good mic, actually. Ian. Of course. Oh, it came in pink. I wasn't not going to get the pink one. When he stated that he needed to know who'd govern Palestine before he would recognize Palestine as a nation, Gaza looks post-apocalyptic. Yeah.
Well, this is what I was going to do.
They had a government. They were starting to build a government.
So
they had people. They might not like the people that had people.
So tell me something. How does this look similar to what we just looked at?
Mm-hmm.
So this is Hiroshima. Some standing buildings, rubble. Hiroshima. I put this in because I thought actually we do have a place that was destroyed that needed to get rebuilt. Now, I would suggest that it's a very different way of building today versus the 1940s and 50s. There was about 1 million people in Hiroshima, so half the size population-wise, half the amount of housing, and it took them. Hiroshima was heavily damaged by the atomic bomb. It was rebuilt remarkably quickly. Within a few years, the city's population had doubled, and by the mid-50s, it had essentially returned to its pre-bombing size. So that's 10 years. to get it back to there. I would and that's okay. So that's half the number of houses. So you're looking at 20 years. I would suspect, no shade on the Japanese, but the style of houses and stuff and the building equipment that they would have had to build those houses would be very different from, 6-story concrete blocks. But an example we can look to, which probably is a lot easier to build the building material than today, was 20 years for the same number of people to build back. And I can't imagine it would only be 20 years. And that was probably also, the Americans did get in at the end of the war and just went hell for leather fixing stuff. Like it was them. So then you got to also go, well, is Israel then going to get in there hell for leather fixing stuff? Doubt that.
You also have to remember that it's the entirety of the area, not just one city. And Japan still had all of its population to come in and rebuild that. Gaza just doesn't have the people, and it won't have the resources either. Like the whole thing's just gone.
Well, but that's one of the things that I learned in more detail this week, is actually part of the war crime thing is that the occupying force, and in this instance it's the Israelis, they're the ones who are occupying the positioning. There is a war crime that the occupying force must provide, food and stuff. They must. So if you're the force that's attacking, you must provide, a way for the civilians there to sustain themselves. And it's like, they're just not. They're just not.
War is a strange thing. Yeah, you can bomb each other, but just you make sure that the civilians are okay. And that fucking never happens, but
yeah. I'm just looking.
You can bomb this part of the country, but don't bomb the rest of it. It's kind of like the I don't know if it's still happening, but Israel and Iraq, where Iraq were like, hey, or Iran, sorry, we're gonna bomb you. You might want to move, and then Israel was like, hey, we're also gonna bomb you. You might want to move. Yeah, it's a strange one. War is an odd thing.
People Baba here are saying, like, obviously Pat, you moron. Yeah, I get it, but I mean the idea that you are required to provide food. That was, and I didn't know that for sure, but like it was made more apparent to me, because I guess you could not be starved by numerous ways, like if you could provide food for yourself. But the point being, if you are the attacking force, you must also then provide food for the citizens of the area you're attacking, and they're not, simply not. And I think we all know that. So I'm probably preaching to the choir. Do we do Peter's comment? Illegal settlements encroaching on Palestinian territories makes the logistics of running a piecemeal nation state especially challenging. Absolutely. Okay, let's get into what I think is the last story of the day, and it's the one we've all been waiting for. Well, Emily's been waiting for.
It's Hottie McAnulty time and the bromance theory.
So Kieran had to educate theBish here on why the nurses were actually striking, because theBish thought it was just about the money and nothing else. And then, of course, wanted to let us know how much they were earning, which is a lie. We showed it last night with Craig. But yeah, part one.
Chris, can the health system afford to be in this position when we're potentially losing this many GPs a year?
Well, my message to the union, the New Zealand Nurses Union, is get back around the negotiating table. There's about 4,000 planned surgeries that are being put at risk due to this strike action. Nurses have had a large pay increase over the last 14 or 15 years. The average nurse now earns around $125,000 per year. That's roughly comparable with New South Wales. We've added 2,000 nurses since November 2023 to the health workforce, so there'll be some sympathy, obviously, on one level. Everyone wants to get a pay increase, but actually we need nurses out there doing the work, and my message to them is don't put patient safety at risk by playing politics.
Their safety is already at risk.
Yeah, and there was a good question here by Chris Chang. It's not in this, but it's in the third bit, where he basically goes, yeah, but the nurses are saying they're striking for their patient safety, which we said last night as well. You're saying they shouldn't put their patients in an unsafe place by not being there. They're saying they're not being there because you guys are putting their patients in an unsafe place, which is a perfectly good response, but that's still to come.
Okay, so not so much sympathy from yourself then. That is almost verbatim what Simeon Brown said yesterday. Kieran, do you accept that?
Pulled out.
No, and it didn't answer the question. Your question was, can we afford this risk to the health system? And then Bishop just went and parroted out the same lines that all the government ministers have been saying. And I'm not sure this tactic's going to work, trying to pin patients against the nurses. Anyone that has had any engagement with the health system of late knows how hard our health professionals work, and they've seen firsthand how much they are under the pump. And if any ministers from the government bothered to turn up and talk to nurses yesterday, they would have heard that actually they're not protesting primarily about pay. They are protesting about patient safety, the very thing the government is trying to jump on their high.
Literally a safer workspace for both them and for the patient. Because if it's not safe for the nurses, then the patients are at more risk. And I think Kieran mentions here about patients having to sleep in their own feces or mess their beds and stuff because there weren't enough nurses to get to various patients in time to help them, like the nurses both wanted to and should have been able to.
Trying to
before you press play, hang on. Just watch what he's saying and then watch Chris's head, because it's really interesting. I love watching people's body language because it's really awkward to sit there. Like, he made a grimace before about something that Kieran said. There is a slight nod of acknowledgement just before you're about to play. It's at the end of this, basically. He agrees with him.
Yeah.
He goes grimace, whatever, but right at the towards the end of what he's saying, that's his grimace.
That's the grimace.
Yeah. That's the fake grimace. But there's a very small nod of acknowledgement that it's about patient safety. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay, well, I've gone back a little bit, so we'll just
watch it. Just watch his head.
Patients against the nurses. Anyone that has had any engagement with the health system of late knows how hard our health professionals work, and they've seen firsthand how much they are under the pump. And if any ministers from the government bothered to turn up and talk to nurses yesterday, they would have heard that actually they're not protesting primarily about pay. They are protesting about patient safety, the very thing the government is trying to jump on their high horse.
Tiny, you can't stop. When you hear something, it's really hard to just sit there and stay still. You could tell he was fighting, just going, yeah, I acknowledge that.
But Daddy Luxon would tell me off if I acknowledge that, so I better stop myself. It's hard to stop myself, but I better stop myself.
I agree. Shit,
patient safety, the very thing the government is trying to jump on their high horse about is the thing that nurses are worried about. They are understaffed, they are overworked, there are basic things that they simply cannot do. We're hearing stories of people that unfortunately soil themselves in bed and there's no nurses to be able to come and help them because they are under pressure elsewhere. And injuries and things like bed sores have increased by around 30%, I think. These are direct results of understaffing and an overworked workforce.
That's a really interesting stat. I wonder where that comes from. Because if that's as simple as that, like if bed sores are up 30%, then that's, I mean, that's the thing. Not enough people to do it. I can't actually remember whether Chewy said this on air or off air or where I heard this. So if to the whānau watching, if I'm repeating something from last night, I apologise. But someone's saying there was 2 nurses on a ward. One of them had an accident on the ward and couldn't go down to the ER to get an X-ray on their leg, which ended up being a broken bone. Because if they had it, they would have left one nurse overnight on the ward. So they had to wait till the end of the shift before they went to the emergency room to get an X-ray on what ended up being a broken bone or a broken ankle or whatever. Yeah, someone told me that yesterday. I don't know whether it was in the video or in the Chewy or someone else. I'm not sure.
I think it was on the show. Someone did say that, yes. I remember that.
All right, let's have a look at the second part. So the second part is, again, it's a combination of what they're trying to do is make the place safer. I'm just double checking that's not we just played because it was sort of the same sort of theme. So this is another continuing conversation. It was a really good actual session with these guys, and in fact there was probably about a 6-minute bit where Chris Chang didn't get a word in because he asked a question and then it was answered by Chris, and then Kieran jumped right into the back of it, and then theBish jumped into the back of it, and then Kieran. It was just like a conversation. It was actually, I won't go so far as to say compelling television, but it was, it was an easy paycheck for Chris Chang that morning. Here we go.
I was at the protest in Marsden yesterday morning, and I could count on one hand. I was there for just over an hour. I could count on one hand a number of cars that drove past that didn't toot. There was a tremendous amount of support amongst our community for our healthcare professionals.
Well, let's be clear. Nurses do a fantastic job. They do a wonderful.
How do you show nurses, Christopher Bishop? How do you show nurses that they do a wonderful job? I've got a suggestion. You pay them what they're worth. If you're a fantastic salesperson, you that's reflected in your paycheck. If you're a fantastic CEO, that's reflected in your paycheck. If you're a fantastic Uber driver, it's reflected in the paycheck. You get more jobs. So if you truly believe this, Bish, that they are fantastic, maybe you should think about reflecting that in their paycheck. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Healthcare professionals.
Well, let's be clear. Nurses do a fantastic job. They do a wonderful job, as do all our health professionals. No one's disputing that. The question is whether or not striking is the right thing to do, given the system is under pressure.
Yeah, is it the right thing for them to do when
what
it's 24 hours of trying to make a stand on something?
It comes down to this is not the right way to protest.
The striking is it's the final straw. Like, no one who's under a union who works in public services wants to strike. The unions behind them do everything they possibly can. They got people sitting down with the ministries and the government, and they are trying their best to not strike. It gets to a point where it's no, you're still not giving us what we need. We're going to strike to show you that we are worth what we need and also how much you need us. It's a last resort. It's not a tactic. It's a last resort. It's the only thing left that they have to get what they need.
So there's two options. Either the nurses are worth more or they're worth less. And this government has decided that they're worthless because they're not going to remunerate them and they're not going to make an environment safe for them to make them feel like they're as valued as this government pretends they think that they are. We'll play some more of this, yeah?
I mean, that they feel is critical to their future care of patients, or, as you say, is it helpful when ministers, like the health minister and yourself, say, actually, you're putting patients' lives at risk? Which is it? Are they putting lives at risk by striking for 24 hours, or actually is it riskier for patients in the long term for them not to have more support?
Yeah, theBish is saying, if you guys strike, you're putting patients' lives at risk. And the nurses are saying, we're striking because you guys are putting patients' lives at risk. So, and Kieran a couple of times nails it by saying that these are a trusted group of workers. So who do we believe? The trusted workers who the country trusts, or the politicians? It's quite a good little slam, if you will.
The reality is the strike has meant the deferral of planned surgeries, of elective surgeries and planned appointments in the system, around about 4,000. That is the reality of what a strike means, because they're not working. It's a strike. So
and a strike is supposed to draw attention to it, isn't it?
Yeah, but I would argue, get back around the negotiating table. We don't do the negotiations as politicians or as ministers. There's a negotiation underway. Get back around the table. I don't think the striking helps patients. I don't think it helps anyone, really.
There's a reason that nurses are...
Well, it's the same thing. So we're going to delay these 4,000 surgeries and meetings and appointments by a day. But what we're doing is striking because all those ones that are not able to be done until 6 months from now, we want them to be done in 2 months from now. So we actually are striking, and an inconvenience for a 1 day of people, agreed, to make it more convenient for hundreds of days of people in the future. And the thing is, it just hasn't really stuck. His argument hasn't stuck. I think the people are with the nurses, and I think that's what Kieran was saying about the protest. So this is not working for National.
There's a negotiation underway. Get back around the table. I don't think the striking helps patients. I don't think it helps anyone, really.
There's a reason that nurses are one of the most trusted professions in the country, is because people know that they are incredibly dedicated, that this is more than a job, it is a vocation. They're doing it because they care very deeply about those that they are looking after. And frankly, when they say that things are unsafe, that there isn't enough resources in the health system, that they're concerned where Health New Zealand take out the rules around safe levels of staffing, when around 50% of our trained nurses aren't being hired because of the government's hire freeze, New Zealanders believe them.
There isn't a hiring freeze. There are nurses being added to the system in the same way that there are doctors being added to the system and health professionals being added to the system each and every day around the country. There's a huge investment going in hospitals and in primary care all around the country into our system.
And this is exactly what we're talking about. You've got the government saying one thing and one of the most trusted professions saying another. And from yesterday's response anyway, I know who Kiwis believe. We've got a double-digit vacancy in Marston and they're not allowed to hire, so I believe the nurses.
It's really important.
Why would they lie about that? That's the stupid thing. Why wouldn't you trust what they're saying? If they're all saying the same thing, why wouldn't you believe them? What do they have to lie about?
And
we can all feel it as the patients as well. Like, we're not dumb. We can see it with our own eyes.
They're wanting to all have ivory back scratches. That's what it's all about. And the point, this is when governments get pedantic and they are able to say things like, this is a record amount spent in the health system. Yeah, that's because there's more New Zealanders and you have to put in more compared to last year. So it's a diversionary tactic to make it sound better than it is. There's no hiring freeze. And we've heard from numerous people, including Gary Payinda on several occasions, that there'll be a hospital that's down by a staff lot of 60. They might be down by 60 and they're allowed to hire 3 people. So technically, there's not a hiring freeze, but we will leave, as Kieran just said, dozens of people, dozens of positions still void. But you've been able to hire one, so you can't claim hiring freeze. It's this stupid semantic games that they go through, Ems.
Yep. It's annoying. It's very annoying. I'm sick of seeing people striking. I just want them to get what they need. Like, it's the same shit that they did this not that long ago. They were striking for the same things. They went back down the negotiating table. Nothing happened. We're back to a strike.
I like what you say is what they need. Striking for what they need. And I think that's very, very true. Last segment here, it's 90 seconds talking about the government playing politics with the strike.
Isn't the problem, though, that the government frames it that way? I remember Simeon Brown said the same thing when the doctors had their strike.
It's exactly with nurses earn $125,000 on average. They don't. But they're trying to say, look at these greedy people.
Like, he referred to how much they get paid, and he's not just throwing it out there. He's very clearly saying, why should we have sympathy for them when they should just be doing their jobs that they're very well paid to do? Isn't the government the one doing the politicking here and not those that are on strike?
Well, the context is important, right? Which is the claims made by the union, and the doctors' union was the same in relation to that last year, I think it was, are often erroneous, and people, don't necessarily put out the right information. He was making.
Can you give some examples, Bish? Like, I'd like to know if they're giving out wrong information, what some examples of that would be. That would be useful.
The point there that doctors actually are well paid, and I'm making the point around nurses. Average nurse is around $125,000. Now that's an average. Not everyone does,
and because it's not true. Not everyone does. You're correct. 99% of people don't. We've done the numbers. Look on YouTube. Look at the clip from yesterday, last night. We went through them with Craig. It's not the case. Remember, if the average nurse gets $125,000, that means you need people on $175,000 to offset the ones on $75,000 to get to that average. So by definition, you have to actually have people earning more like 170, 180K and others earning 70 or 80K to get to your average. And it's not the case. It's not the case. It's not the average nurse. And the nursing unions told us before that the number of overtime shifts you'd actually have to do to get even close to that is horrific. So it's technically possible if you want to have no life and sleep at the hospital and get all those hours. But then they're also telling you can't have overtime work. So it's technically possible to get to with this overtime, whilst New Zealand NZ Health is saying there's no overtime. So which is it? Because you can't get that overtime, if you're not allowed the overtime, to then use as an example of how you could get to that dollar value. You seem to be wanting to have your cake again, government, and eating it too. Doesn't work that way.
It includes allowances and things like that, and there's a stepped pay increase, and that's part of the negotiation that that is underway right now. So my point is, get back around the negotiating table. That, I think, serves patients and the public interest better than strikes that put at risk planned care. There's a bunch of people out there who've had messages from their from the health system in the last week or so saying, look, sorry, we're going to have to defer or cancel your appointment. People will be enormously brassed off about that, and you can understand why.
It's interesting when the nurses are saying that their main concern is patient safety, and every time you talk to the government, they talk about pay. They recognise that this is something where they can try and wedge New Zealanders against the nurses.
Well, it's a pay negotiation. They're in a pay negotiation. They're literally in a bargaining round for pay. So
they've made it very clear that this is about understaffing.
I just want to very quickly touch on.
There you go. And that kind of flew off into another conversation, so I just pulled out there. So there you go, Ems. You're welcome to jump in. What are your thoughts? Those greedy nurses?
Look, I would never put my hand up to do
Isn't
that job.
the problem though that the
and if I wouldn't put my hand up to do the job, then I'm quite happy that someone else gets paid to do it. And I'd like that person to be highly qualified and very good and gets a lot of sleep and gets paid and remunerated correctly so that I get the best care and I don't have to wait too long for my care. And if that means paying them more, then we should pay them more.
Yep. And just to reiterate, I told this story last night, but just for people who weren't here, Chewy and I were at an event on Friday night where Chloe Swarbrick was speaking, and Chloe told us a story of a conversation with her and her best friend. Her best friend is retraining to be a nurse. In a class the other day, the lecturer said, how many of you are planning on leaving for Australia? And 90% of the class put their hand up and said, we're leaving for Australia. So we're not actually training nurses for New Zealand now. We are a feeding system to the Australian health system. Remember, 10,000 nurses. Since the election, 10,000 nurses have made themselves available, have registered to work in Australia. Doesn't mean all 10,000 have gone yet, but 10,000 have said, oh yeah, I better get myself ready to go. So you've got 2,000 new nurses, Bish. Okay, what if that 10,000 leave? It means you're down by 8,000. More work, please, more work.
Yeah. Nope, it's our best export at the moment. We're the land of honey, milk and honey, and trained nurses and doctors. Come get your nurses and doctors.
Let's wrap up with a few of the tweets, messages. Tiffany says, Bish, don't kill my vibe, to Kendrick's BDKMV. This is a good one. Beer Tato Time. Beer Tato Time. Beer Tato Time. Says, cheers, you two. Keep up the good work. Thank you. It's a very generous super chat there, $20.
Thank you.
And the G says, what's more upsetting, a postponed surgery or subpar post-operative care that results in more complications and suffering? Safe numbers save lives. I think maybe Richard might have been involved, or at least paid a lot of attention to the. I think that was one of the chants, wasn't it, at the at the marches yesterday? Safe numbers save lives. It's a very good. It's a very good chant. It's a very good slogan. Well, Emily, that's kind of us. Is there anything you want to add by the end of the show? Anything else you want to say? Anything you want to get out there?
No, I'll be back tomorrow, so I can re-energize my foo, and then Magenta and I can foo your Friday for you with the memes.
That sounds like a strange object to do. Is there anything you want to talk about tomorrow night? Have you got guests coming up or something? Do you want to give them a teaser?
Oh yeah, I think we do. I think we've got someone from Action Station coming along to talk about a, what do you call it, roadshow. Is it a roadshow, was it?
I think so,
it's about free dental. So yeah, we're going to have a chat with Hannah, I think it was. Not Hannah, but another Hannah.
The other Hannah.
Not that
Hannah. The other Hannah. Yeah, not that one.
Just in case everyone got really excited. We're also excited about this Hannah. That should be really cool. And then other than that, it'll be memes, and I'm sure something, as Friday often does, some news will break that'll send us off into the weekend with a grimace, probably.
Yes, already getting into it. Yes, free dental, says Mike or Mikey. Would you
Fingers
go Mike
crossed.
or Mikey?
Monday.
No, you just go Mike or
Mike.
Mikey? Mike?
Mike.
Yeah.
Mick.
all right. Mike. We'll just go
Mickey.
Mike. All right, team, and I'll be back on Monday night for the next edition of Big Hairy News. Have a great weekend. Get out to your protests this Saturday. I'm pretty sure I'll be getting down to the one in Dunedin. Lots going on. It feels like this is a real moment for the Palestinian movement. So if you want to get out with like-minded people, most places around the country are still doing them on Saturday. And yeah, get out, get amongst it, and I'll see you on Monday night.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by what you impact. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
Yep, as we said, team, that's it for me. Emily back with Magenta tomorrow night. Fun and frivolity had by all. And make sure you check out bhnshop.nz. Pardon me. And I'm pretty confident that there'll be some brand spanking new merch up there for you next week. We might even do a limited run to make you guys go hard for the stuff there. All right, guys, all the best. Anything you want to add to finish up with, Emily?
No, Pat, go and enjoy your weekend. Then we'll
I
take it over from here.
All right, team. Catch you Monday. See you tomorrow night, Emily. Hooroo, team.
Penny.